Hi friends, it's Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, and I am here today to bring you my middle of the month recap, where I'm going to be sharing all about the books that I read in the first half of July. I am basically still not fathoming that it's already the middle of July. We're that much closer to my birthday month, which is next month, woo, August, and we're also that much closer to the end of the year, which is kind of crazy to me. But it is my favorite season. It's been nice and warm and sunny, and I've had to keep putting my hair up like this because it is so hot. Anyway, I was doing pretty well with my reading until Pokemon Go came out, and now I'm just obsessed with Pokemon Go, so yeah. I mean, I'm truly enjoying it. It's such a great throwback to something that I loved so much as a kid, so yeah. Let me know, are you guys playing Pokemon Go? I would love to know if it is just as much as fun for you guys as it is for me. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the books. The first book that I read in July was called Supernova, and it's by Liz Long, and it's a self-published novel. And it's basically about a girl named Nova who has these unexplainable superhero powers. She basically is indestructible. And when something happens to her family, a tragic accident involving her younger sister, she decides that she wants to, you know, take on the mantle of being a superhero and try to track the bad guy down and kill him. And it just so happens that there are these two siblings who move into her town who also have these powers, albeit they manifest in a different way. And yeah, that's basically the premise of it. And I actually really enjoyed this one. It was really readable, it was really fast. Even though it was fairly predictable, I still thought it was pretty fun. I haven't read a lot of like superhero type books, so I thought that was really cool. I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I then read You Know Me Well by David Levithan and Nina LaCour, and this is basically a book about two people who meet during the San Francisco Pride Week, and they form this unlikely friendship, and it's basically just a story that follows them over the course of a week filled with shenanigans, both friendship and romantic, and even a little bit familial. And I really enjoyed it. I flew through the pages, it read really fast, which was really great, and I thought it was very unique. I did not quite get as invested as I wanted to in either of the main characters, but I still thought it was pretty fun, and I ended up giving that book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in July is another review book, and this one got sent to me unsolicited, and it's called Cure for the Common Universe by Christian McKay Heidegger. I hope I pronounced that right. Anyway, I really thought this cover was great. It's basically about a teenage boy who gets sent to video game rehab because he's getting really, like, his family thinks he's really addicted to video games. And it's funny because the setup of the rehab is almost like a video game because you have to earn enough points to get discharged. And he really wants to get discharged as fast as possible because he's supposed to go on a date with this girl. And I enjoyed this one. It took me longer to read than I thought it would, but I liked the format of it. It kind of felt like a Disney Channel movie, one of those like B-list ones, the ones that you don't really know about but they exist and they're fun to pass the time with. Yeah, it was kind of like that, and yeah, I thought it was fairly interesting. The setup was pretty smart, and from a gamer's perspective, I thought that was really fun. I did not like how it ended because I was kind of like, what? After all of that? And I don't like the way that some of the characters get treated or labeled in this one, but at the time it was like entertaining enough to keep me reading, so yeah. I ended up giving this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars. All the next books that I read are part of the same manga series, and it's a series I've been reading on and off since earlier this year. And it is a series called Nana, and it's by Ayazawa. So I read volume 4, 5, which I do not have because I read on my Kindle, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And yes, I binge read. And basically, I can't really tell you what those volumes are about because they're kind of a little like way into the story, but I will tell you that it's a series about two girls who are both named Nana, and they actually end up meeting on a train on their way to Tokyo, and somehow they're brought together again and become roommates and involved in each other's lives, and they're very different. One of the Nanas is the lead singer in a band, the other Nana is kind of like trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life, and she's kind of a little bit boy crazy. And I have to say, like, all of the developments in these later volumes were like crazy. Like, I was literally getting emotional and like angry and sad and happy, and I really love the friendship between the Nanas, and I think that's one of the main things that keeps me reading. And I also have a soft spot for a lot of the secondary characters, even though there's one in particular who I want to punch in the face. But aside from that, I'm really enjoying it, so I'm so happy that Kristen of Super Space Chick recommended them to me, and I will keep on reading. I'm waiting for the rest to come in at the library. The next book I read is actually one that I will be sharing my full review for on the blog for the blog tour, and that is How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather, and she's actually a descendant of the Mather family, who were known for their part in the Salem witch trials. And it's basically about a girl named Sam Mather, who is also related to that family, and she and her stepmother end up moving to Salem because they had to sell their New York apartment to cover her father's medical bills. And Sam is not only the new student, she's kind of ostracized for her family and like their reputation, but it turns out that there's this whole big curse kind of involving the whole town, and Sam has to race to figure it out at the end. I like this book, but I also did not like some parts of it. I like the fact that it's about witchcraft, which is something that is either hit or miss for me, and this one actually worked. I liked the setting of it because the author was really good at, you know, putting the setting together. I like that she wove history into the story. I also really like how it ends because I was not expecting it to end that way, and I think it was really smart. So that was very good. What I didn't like was that I felt like some parts of it, especially like the character development, were a bit formulaic. It kind of like felt like these were characters that I had encountered before, and it was really hard for me to like figure things, like to separate them from other characters, like witchy characters that I'd read in my mind, or non-witch characters involved in witch stories that I'd read in my mind. It gave me a very Secret Circle feel, if you guys know what, like if you guys ever watched the show. It reminds me of that a little bit, so yeah. But all in all, it was very entertaining, and I actually flew through it. Even though there were moments where I wasn't sure if I could keep going because some of the moments made me roll my eyes. But overall, it was pretty interesting. I gave this one a 3.25 out of 5 stars. The next book that I decided to read was The Bourbon Kings by J.R. Ward, and this was a reread for me. This is the first book in the Bourbon Kings series, and it follows the Bradford family, particularly the siblings Edward, Lane, and Virginia. Not their brother Max, because he's not in town and anyway, but yeah. And there's a lot of drama going on with their family involving money embezzlement and like relationships, and it's like very soap opera, it's soap opera set in the South. That's what it is. Sorry, that was a bit of a tongue twister, but yeah. I found this book entertaining when I read it last year, and I still felt the same way this year. It's like one of those things where you know like parts of it are really dramatic, really exaggerated, and like crazy, but you can't stop reading, especially if you love the Bradfords. I enjoy the Bradfords because even though they're also really frustrating and complex people, they're also easy for me to like root for, and I'm a sucker for family stories, so yeah. Still enjoyed this one. I definitely felt like rereading it gave me like a better grasp on the things I'd forgotten. Like, I knew a lot of the major plot points, but then I'd kind of forgotten like some of the minor ones. Yeah, but anyway, it was a great reminder. I gave this one a 3.75 out of 5 stars. And the reason I reread The Bourbon Kings was so I could jump into reading The Angel Share by J.R. Ward, which is the sequel that is out this month. And I also really enjoyed this one. We got to learn a lot more about the family and about the siblings. We got to see what happens in the aftermath of the events in the first book. And yeah, there's a lot more drama. There's a lot more craziness that ensues in this one, and I just could not stop reading once I'd started. Once again, in true J.R. Ward fashion, she just writes stories and characters that are so compelling to me. I also gave this one a 3.75 out of 5 stars. After reading all of that drama, soap opera drama, I decided I wanted to read a YA contemporary, and I went with Fingerprints of You by Kristen Page Madonia, which I have been meaning to read for forever. Like my friend Estelle, who used to blog at Rather Be Reading and who can be found on Twitter at That'sOstelle, and Rachel of Hello Chelly have recommended this book to me time and again, and I've had it for a while, but I just never felt like reading it until recently, and honestly I was so blown away. It's such a quiet story, and yet there's such an emotional resonance with the main character Lemon. It's basically the story of a girl named Lemon who gets pregnant, and then she is determined to, while she's pregnant, figure out her situation with her estranged father, so she goes to San Francisco to find him. And yeah, it's just that story, and I love that it's quiet. I love that it's more about like something that could happen to a real person in real life. It deals with like a story and a teen's feelings that felt so authentic, and I absolutely love that. I thought the setting was really great. I thought the characters were so strong and well done. I also just really enjoyed like the way that Kristen Paige Madonia writes. She has such beautiful turns of phrase, and I was so impressed by that. Yeah, I was so impressed by Kristen Paige Madonia's writing. She has such beautiful turns of phrase, and I was definitely very impressed by that. I think like it's as they said, it was a beautiful read, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I read it really quick, which was nice, perfect for my summer reading plans, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And the most recent book I read as of today, and I'm filming this on Friday, so you guys are gonna see it on Tuesday. I'll probably have read more books by then. But as of today, the last book that I've read in July is Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. And the problem with this one is it gives me so many feelings. Anyway, it is basically about 3 sisters, triplets, who are born to ascend eventually as ascend to the throne eventually for their country, and in order to do so they have to kill the other 2 sisters and ascend to become queen. Each sister is gifted with a different kind of magic. There's a poisoner who's good with poisons and also is immune to most of them. There is a naturalist who is good with plants and with animals and stuff like that, and there's an elemental. And I thought the story had a lot of potential. I really like the idea of these 3 sisters with different abilities, like having to go up against each other and compete to become the queen. I really like that, and I thought it was interesting. I'm not so fond of how it was executed though, because I kind of felt detached from the story the entire time I was reading it, and I also felt a little bit like I was dragging my feet at some points because it was like so long and everything, and it just took forever to build up to the point where they were finally gonna compete with each other, and I don't think that was what I was expecting to get when I read this one. But yeah, I could definitely see the potential for this story. I am unsure personally if I'm going to continue with the series. I do think that it would be interesting to find out what happens and which sister, you know, becomes triumphant. But yeah, I was kind of unimpressed with this story, which is quite sad. I ended up giving this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And as a bonus, let me mention the last book I read in June, which I did not get to mention in my June wrap-up. And that book was After You by Jojo Moyes, which is the sequel to Me Before You. And if you have not yet read Me Before You, obviously this is kind of a spoiler, but yeah, so tune out. You can X out of this video. This is going to be the last book I mention anyway. This is what happens to Louisa after the events of Me Before You. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it because I'd been seeing mixed reviews from people, but surprisingly I enjoyed it. I thought it was a realistic portrayal of the chapter of Louisa's life after what happened in Me Before You, and I liked that a lot. I got pretty emotional reading it, which is not going to surprise anyone, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and I love the secondary characters in this one as well. I thought it was really good, and it was really quick to read as well. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the books that I've read so far this July. Here's to hoping I read a bunch more in the last 2 weeks, so I will have more to talk about with you guys. In any case, if you've read any of the books I mentioned in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them in the comments. What have you been reading? Tell me in the comments as well. I would love to hear that. And I will see you guys soon for another video.